to him, even if his Gladiators didn't have the box office draw of USC and Tennessee. By the way, Mr. DeMille, what's the draw in the Lux Radio Theater next week?
Next Monday night, we're going to present the two stars who won the 2 Academy Awards last year, Spencer Tracy and Bette Davis. Our play is Dark Victory. It's the dramatic love story of a brilliant doctor and a society girl who learns that money won't buy everything. With Bette Davis and Spencer Tracy in the leading roles, Dark Victory will be brought to you by 2 of the finest dramatic artists of our day.
That calls for a red letter on the calendar, C.B. Good night and a Happy New Year.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Good night. May this New Year be happier than the happiest New Year you've ever had. In city apartments and snowbound farmhouses, the fine old American custom of open house has been king today. It's a friendly tradition, and we always think of the Lux Radio Theater as open house to you, not only on this New Year's Monday night, but on every Monday night through the whole year. Our wish for you is a full measure of joy and prosperity in 1940. Our promise to you is that we'll try to add to your happiness with an increasingly high standard of entertainment in the Lux Radio Theater. And our feeling for you, whoever you are and wherever you may be, is real friendship sealed with a national handshake. Our sponsors, the makers of Lux Flakes, join me in inviting you to be with us again next Monday night when the Lux Radio Theater presents Bette Davis and Spencer Tracy in Dark Victory. This is Cecil B. DeMille saying good night to you from Hollywood.
Heard in tonight's play were Eric Snowden as Roland, Vernon Steele as Buck, Mary Gordon as Mrs. Marks, Claire Videra as Mrs. Palfrey, Kathleen Fitz as Molly, Thomas Mills as Mr. Palfrey, Gloria Gordon as Mrs. Verity, Jack Lewis as Sam Fitz, Dr. Severn as Dr. Harvey, and Thomas Freebairn Smith as hotel clerk. Richard Carlson will soon be seen in the RKO release, And So Goodbye. Our music was directed by Louis Silvers, and your announcer has been Melville Ruick. This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Broadcasting from the Wade Lynn Studios high above the broadcast house in downtown Greencastle. We are 93.7 WRGG LP Greencastle.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. The White House is condemning the violence Wednesday at the U.S. Capitol. White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany said protesters who broke the law should be prosecuted.
We condemn it in the strongest possible terms. It is unacceptable, and those that broke the law should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
The chief of the Capitol Police is resigning after protesters stormed the Capitol building. NBC News reports Chief Stephen Sunn's last day will be the 16th. Thousands of protesters were able to breach police barricades and enter the Capitol building. A decision on removing President Trump from office could happen soon. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says she hopes to have an answer from Vice President Pence by tonight. She and others are pleading with him to invoke the 25th Amendment, but if that doesn't happen, she's threatening to try and impeach Trump for a second time, calling him a very dangerous person. The Trump campaign is dropping 4 election lawsuits they filed against Georgia's Secretary of State. Secretary Brad Raffensperger says Trump's team voluntarily dismissed their election contest to avoid submitting their evidence to court. He said the president's legal team is falsely characterizing the dismissal as an out-of-court settlement agreement. A powerful winter storm is heading to the southeast and bringing heavy snow and rain to several parts of the region. Tom Roberts has the details.
According to the National Weather Service, a storm advisory is being issued from Georgia to Virginia, with some areas in North Carolina expected to see upwards of 9 inches of snow over the course of the next 36 hours. Thunderstorms are also possible for northern Florida. The storm is likely to dissipate as it heads toward the East Coast by Friday.
Michelle Obama is calling on tech companies to take a stand against President Trump. The former First Lady took to Twitter on Thursday saying online platforms should go the extra mile and permanently ban Trump. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio.
WRGG appreciates the support of Eicher's Quality Car Care, major and minor general auto repair on import and domestic vehicles. Stop in at 251 North Allison Street in Greencastle or call 597-8627 to make an appointment with Ron or Jamie. Eicher's Quality Car Care, another local business supporting the programming on WRGG.
Well, we waited all year. Happy New Year. It's Mike from Lumber Direct. We want to just take a minute to say thank you to all of our customers that support us during this past year. 2020 was a year like no other. We are looking forward to helping you with all your hardware and lumber needs in 2021. Yes, we are a lumber store, but don't forget, we got the armory, plumbing, home decor, electrical. Heck, we even have toys. We are your local one-stop shop. Visit us at 10 East Water Avenue in Greencastle and tell them Big Mike sent you.
Lumber Direct, another fine sponsor of the programming here at WRGG.
WRGG's mission statement is serving community in support of education, the arts, and athletic excellence through quality FM radio broadcasting. On June 14th, 2020, WRGG proudly celebrated its 4th anniversary, fulfilling that commitment to the Greencastle Antrim community and beyond. For those who have shared your financial support over the years, we say thank you. For those that have considered supporting your community radio station but have not yet made a contribution, we encourage you to make that fully tax-deductible donation today. You may stop by the station in person or mail a check to 113 South Carlisle Street, Greencastle, Pennsylvania 17225. Contributions may also be made by PayPal. Contributions of any amount are greatly appreciated.
WRGG weather.
Now the weather forecast for WRGEG. Increasing clouds, the low temperature 27 overnight. A few flurries on Friday, the high 37. Clear Friday night, the low 24. Saturday mostly sunny, the high 38. Clear Saturday night, the low 24. Increasing clouds Sunday, the high 38. For WRGG, I'm nowcast meteorologist Chad Merrill.
Welcome to Around Your Community on WRGG 93.7 FM. I'm Lois Steichen, your host for this weekly program where I talk with representatives from nonprofits in our area so you, our listeners, can learn more about these wonderful organizations and the people who make them possible. Good evening. Welcome to the first Around Your Community program of 2021. My guest tonight is Craig Newcomer, the Executive Director of Maranatha Ministries, which is located in Chambersburg. Welcome, Craig.
Thanks for having me.
I must admit I'd never heard of your ministry program before Dave Kipp, the former host of Around Your Community, brought it to my attention. I assume I'm not the only one, so let's start at the very beginning. Okay. Maranatha. Now, did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes, you did.
Okay. The word is biblical, Aramaic.
Correct. It's the message that the disciples would give when Jesus walked into an area. As he was walking in, they would whisper into each other's ear, Maranatha, which means Jesus is coming.
Now, I noticed when I looked it up online that there are many Maranatha organizations. There's schools, there's academies. The ministry that you do, is that unusual? Is it all over the country, or are you just a single one?
We are a single one. It was founded by my mother. Natalie Newcomer was her name, and she founded the ministry back in 1987.
Am I correct that your wife is listed as a founder? No, that must be your mother.
That's my mother.
That's your mother.
That's my mother.
The founder and CEO.
Correct. She passed away November 29th, 2019.
When I looked at the website, I saw that that is her name that's on there.
That's her name, and when somebody goes onto our website, you can see new website under construction.
Yes.
So there's a back page happening right now as we speak that will come to the forefront, and there's going to be a complete page dedicated to my mother who founded the ministry.
And let's go ahead and give how people can get in touch and look at what your organization is. So your website, etc.
Website is www.maranathaministryinc.org. Address is 195 West Loudon Street in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, 17201. Our main phone number is 717-261-1708. Once you call into that number, you can be directed to any of our entities, which we have many of those that you can reach out to as well. I know it's kind of unconventional, but I just give my cell phone out because eventually somebody gets to me anyways. Might as well just call and get it over with so I can move on.
Yeah, that's how I found you.
That's how busy I am. So my phone number, cell phone number is 717-830-3487.
Now, your mother started this. What made her do that?
It's a wonderful story.
Okay, let's hear it.
So my mother and father were born and raised in Chambersburg. My mother was in an orphanage till the age of 13, and then she got adopted. My father had enlisted into the Air Force when he was 16. My mother was 17 at the time. So my mother and father were trying to figure out what to do because they hadn't been married yet. My dad was getting ready to leave. They wanted to still be together. So they decided to get married, quote unquote, because my mother was pregnant. And then I came 4 years later. So
that's unusual.
So they went away. It was a long pregnancy.
Your dad was 16?
My dad was 16, graduated from high school. And he was going to the Air Force. My mother wanted to go with him. So
when was this?
This was back in about 1960.
And he could go into the Air Force at 16.
Yes, it was during the Vietnam era.
Yeah.
So it was easy to get into the services back then at that age.
And they were 16 and 17.
Yeah, and they went to San Antonio and then got transferred to Andrews Air Force Base in Washington, D.C. My father became a Washington, D.C. policeman from the Air Force, right into the Washington, D.C. Police Department. They were recruiting heavy. So they stayed down there. My mom had tried to figure out what to do in life, and she became a teller at a bank, then moved up to assistant manager, then manager. Eventually, she went to the University of Maryland School of Banking and became the vice president of Maryland National Bank. And then my dad retired in '84, and they moved back up to the area.
So you were already, 20 by this time?
Close to, yeah. So I stayed down in Washington, D.C. My parents didn't know this, but I was homeless. So I was finishing my schooling down there at George Mason University, and I was pretty much homeless, jumping from place to place, trying to find a place to stay all the time. Never told them this at all until later years. But I experienced homelessness myself, and that's where my drive comes to help the homeless back. Move forward to Mom being up here, found various jobs. She was a comptroller for a company here locally, and they went down to their boat. They had a yacht on the Chesapeake Bay, and they were out, and my mom was with her friend, and she said, "I wonder what the poor people are doing." Well, she heard a voice say, "I will show you." Lightning struck, clouds formed. My mom and dad were fighting to get the boat back. They finally got it back. When she got home on Monday to go into work, they said there's no need to come in. Our companies decided to go family owned, and only family people work here now, no other employees. So she lost her job. So my mom and dad were struggling, trying to make ends meet. They lost their boat, lost their new car. They were losing everything, and she just got down on her knees and prayed and said, "Lord, please show me how to get through this, and I'll dedicate the rest of my life in helping people in poverty-stricken situations and help them get back on their feet."
Wow.
That's how the ministry started.
That is a story. I read your founding purpose on your website, and it says various things, but the last sentence is, "We offer a hand up, not just a hand out."
Correct.
So let's start going over some of the programs that you offer. I see Candle Heart. What's Candle Heart?
Candle Heart is a life recovery program for people that have dual diagnosis, mental health issues, and addiction, and various issues in life not being able to move forward. We teach them life skills and get them back on their feet and get them back into paying jobs, being able to pay their own rent, being able to take care of things in life. And it's kind of like a transitional home type program where we try to help them get back up in life and moving forward. It's anywhere from a 6-month program, could possibly be 2 years, depending on the individual.
Maranatha RR?
Rapid Rehousing. That is a program that helps people that are homeless to get an apartment. It pays for security deposit, first month's rent, and a titerating amount for the next 4 months. So it goes from 75%, 50 to 25% to help them get established in their apartment.
Now, the food pantry. Now, I went to the Facebook page and I saw the video that you were doing about the cold weather shelter and then the food pantry. Well, you've got quite a food pantry there.
Yeah, we've developed a lot over the years.
And people are able to literally come in and shop, right? It's not just a box brought to your trunk. You actually get to pick out what you want.
Correct.
Now, COVID must have made a huge difference in what has been going on with you. Do you have certain days that you're open, and what's the criteria?
Yeah, we serve on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and you just have to have a proof of residence in the state of Pennsylvania, and then an ID from the state of Pennsylvania, Social Security cards for everybody in the household that you're getting food for, and that's pretty much it. Proof of income. If you don't have income, show us that you don't have income. We don't turn too many people away, so anybody that shows up, we try to assist.
What kind of increase of people have you seen during COVID?
A lot. And in different areas and different ways that we serve, too. Every Friday from April, when the cold weather shelter shuts down, until September, we do what's called a faith feed. I don't know if you saw some of those videos on the Facebook. We cook out on the grill and serve about 400 meals every Friday from 1 to 5. That's something that we do. We also we gave out 760,000 gallons of milk last year during the summertime, and we gave out 55 tractor-trailer loads of food, 1,008 meals per truck. And what we do is we orchestrate, either we get it to the organization that wants to give it out, or we orchestrate the tractor-trailer just to come right there, and we'll offload it with a forklift on their parking lot for them so they can distribute.
So where do you get the food?
USDA food comes through programs that are set up through the stimulus package. And then the food that we get normally just for our food pantry, we get that from various, like Walmart. They give us all of their food that they can't put back on the shelf. Wise Markets, Food Lion, Rudders, 2 different Rudders, Target. And those are the places that we go pick up on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday of every week.
That's primarily where you get your food from, then? It's from actual corporations and companies?
And donors, too.
Just normal people?
Yeah, we have Penn National Group, which is a great organization that's been partnering with us for years. It's a great way that they do it. All the individuals that live in the Penn National community, the first Tuesday of every month, what they'll do is they'll put their food out at the end of the driveway, and some gentleman will come pick it up in a truck and bring it to us, and then we'll put it into the food pantry.
And then your cold weather drop-in shelter, that's another one that you were doing the video of. That's been going on for about a month now.
Yeah, we opened up December 1st, and we close April 1st of every year.
Again, on the video, I saw that you did a tour of the women's section, the men's section. The women's section is smaller. Men's section is larger. Now, how many can you house?
We can house up to about 24, 25.
How were you last night? It was awfully cold last night.
Last night we had, I think, 18.
And how is it staffed? You must have people there all night long.
Yeah, we have volunteers from 7 to midnight. And if you go to the website for that is ccwdis.org. Okay, so if you think about it, it's chambersburgcoldweatherdropinshelter.org. You can go to the website, and there's a schedule that you can click on, and it'll show you who's doing what on what night. And so we have volunteers that come in from 7 to midnight, and then we have paid staff that work from midnight to 8 in the morning. And we close at 8 in the morning, open back up at 7 at night.
Okay, you can take 24. How many people are there homeless in Chambersburg on a typical winter night?
A lot.
And where do the rest of them go?
There's some that choose not to come in, that live in their cars, live in other areas. Unfortunately, we've seen and found that even though they're not allowed, we've found people with heaters inside of storage bins because they could use their Social Security check and pay $50 a month and use a heater and get pretty crafty in the way that they stay. Some people just don't like to be around a lot of people at one time. In the summer times, I do the street outreach for homelessness, and I'll find them in camps and things like that. And even in the camps, they're separated. They don't like to be around each other very much.
Is there a homeless count that is done?
Yes, that's done in January of every year.
And that is for Chambersburg or
That
Franklin
is for
County?
Franklin County.
What kind of numbers are we looking at typically?
Right now, I think there was 180 some homeless as of this morning. And that's various people. There's different categories of homelessness. Classifying real homeless are people that are living outside, not staying on somebody's couch or not staying in a hotel room and things like that. So those numbers are conglomerate with all of the numbers. So you might have people that are flopping from couch to couch. They're considered homeless in some certain category. But to be really homeless, you have to be outside in the elements to be categorized according to HUD standards.
I know there are homeless shelters elsewhere in the county. Which are some of those?
Yeah, SCAP has a shelter that is in Chambersburg. It's a 30-day shelter. And then New Hope in Waynesboro has a shelter. And I'm not sure how they qualify or disqualify. It's up to them the way they do it. But we take, in our cold weather shelter, under the Code Blue laws, there's Code Blue laws that are in effect right now. And that is if there's any 2 days beyond 2 days that are 32 or below, that's called Code Blue, which means you can't turn anybody away. You're not allowed to turn anybody away that shows up on your door.
I know this is expensive. You talked about that on the video, too, how expensive it is. And I think you were talking about the cold weather shelter or the food pantry. Our listeners may want to help. And what are some ways that they can help?
Well, I mean, anyway, we could always use volunteers, and we could always use monetary donations, too, because we have bills to pay. For example, our food pantry is averaging anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500 a month just for electric, because we have many freezers, because we give out meat, too. We give out meat, and we give out drinks and all kinds of stuff. It's just like going to a grocery store. And the cold weather shelter side also, we have electric and heat for that as well. And so you're looking at possibly around $2,000 a month just for that, not including the payroll of the staff at the cold weather shelter. Now, I volunteer all my time and don't receive a paycheck for what I do with the food pantry because it's my way of giving back. Of course, I learned that from my mom. I got to give that credit to her, but I've learned that, I just serve the Lord and pay back what I can to help society.
Is this all in one building on West Loudon Street? You've got your shelter there, your food pantry. What else is in the building that you have?
It's pretty much just the food pantry and the shelter, and we have a lot of storage upstairs for clothing and things like that. If somebody comes into the shelter and they're in need of anything, they fill out a form of what they need. And if it's clothing, I'll go upstairs and pull their sizes and things like that and make sure that they're clothed and make sure they have everything they need.
Now, the things like the Maranatha RR program, you need space to use for the teaching that you do for that.
That's
right?
at the Candleheart building. That's a separate building.
Candleheart and that is in the same area, though?
Yeah, it's in Chambersburg, but it's in a separate building.
Separate building, okay.
Yeah, and then House of Hope as well is another entity of ours, which is a women's life recovery program. And that is in a separate building as well.
The other program that I see listed here is Mentor Connection.
Mentor Connection is a connection with Dr. David Lehman. And Dr. David Lehman has a group of mentors that goes into the prisons and mentors men that are coming out and tries to teach them about being a good father, being a good man, and coming out and being that person that your family wants you to be to move forward with your life. So it's a mentorship program.
And then House of Hope, which you already mentioned, but a recovery house for addicted female. That's an actual structure then that you have. Stay tuned for more information. Is it in development or?
It's in development stages. As a matter of fact, my meeting before I came here was about that. Our ministry is going to expand double-fold, and we're just waiting for that to happen before we can speak about it.
You are the executive director. Mm-hmm. Who else do you have on your staff?
It's just pretty much me as the executive director, and I have a director at my food pantry. I have a director at House of Hope, and I have a director at a Candleheart facility. And then I run the cold weather shelter. They hired me to run the cold weather shelter. Pretty much that's it.
Now, are the directors of your food pantry, et cetera, are those paid positions?
Yes.
Those are paid. And yours is a paid position somewhere?
I get paid for the cold weather drop-in shelter, but after that, not.
And your mother was the same way, that she did not get paid for her?
Okay. Right. She taught me that.
She taught you that. Churches, do you cooperate with churches in town?
Yeah, we're non-denominational, and that was for working with other churches. So we work with many churches across the board. As a matter of fact, our board of directors of the cold weather shelter is 12 different churches. And my mom established it that way so that we could get churches to work together for the same cause. And then we work with all different types of churches that reach out to us.
Now, are there only Christian churches in Chambersburg? Are there any mosques?
No. I have a few from the Jewish temple that help us as well. They work with us as well. Closest Muslim mosque is in Harrisburg. We reach out and help them. Patrick Matthews is a gentleman that I work with Harkin House, and he's helping them develop a program up in Harrisburg. So we reach out to anybody and help everybody. We don't have any constraints. Everybody in this world are our brothers and sisters.
Do you ever have events that the public is invited to?
All of our events, anybody's invited to. So especially our faith feed on Fridays, when we have those, everybody's available to come in and either volunteer, help, or be a part, or even receive food. There's no requirements on receiving that food. I have a Jewish couple from the synagogue that come and pick up our food and take it to the hospital tents when the hospital tents were around. So they help move food to other locations so we don't have to leave the property. So we do that too. And then we work with the senior housing as well. They'll come down and pick up about 40 meals to take up to the senior housing as well.
I did want to ask one more question about the homeless in the county. Mm-hmm. What's the age range? I mean, I would imagine it varies. It varies.
Yeah, you can't really get a number on that because I have various age ranges, various backgrounds. I have a guy right now that's an engineer that's in there. It's unfortunate. I've seen so many engineers come through our program because if they have sobriety issues or anything like that and lose their job, they're not doing their continuing education, and they get hired by a younger person with the engineering background, and it's hard for them to get back into the engineering groups, even with a background like that. I've seen so many of that. I had a guy in our program that had a PhD in biochemistry, and he couldn't get back into the field. The only place that we found for him was through a recruiting agency. I got him a job in Moscow.
Moscow is in Russia?
Yeah. We're always searching and trying to find things for everybody and try to get them placed somewhere for employment. And that's the toughest thing to do when it comes to somebody that has a background and has been away from their background for a period of time.
Wow. We always talk about all the engineers that we know that were in our age range. They were always out of a job. My husband thought about going into engineering, and I'm so glad he didn't because that field has become very, very difficult. And they all end up being contract workers, and then the contract comes to an end, and it doesn't seem to matter what type of engineer they are.
One of our favorite guys that came through our program, his name was Bob. No HIPAA because he passed away. But he was one of my favorite guys that came through here. He was an engineer at NIH and lost his job and became homeless. And it's because he couldn't find a job anywhere else in his field. And it was always beyond. When he went to apply for a job, some young guy just getting out of college got the job as opposed to him because they paid him less. He's older, he knows more. It's a vicious cycle with engineering degrees. I mean, it is. It's very tough.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we have found out that you just are doing a wonderful program there, and I am so glad that now I know about Maranatha Ministries. Dave asked me to get you because he said, with the cold weather shelter thing and talking about the homeless in the winter time. I'm glad I had you on. So one more time, let's get the information about how people get in touch with Maranatha Ministry for whatever reason they want to get in touch.
Okay, our address is 195 West Loudon Street in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, 17201. Our website is www.maranathaministryinc.org. And you can call me on my cell phone at 717-830-3487, or our main number is 717-261-1708, and it'll give you prompts to go to the area that you need to talk to. And if anybody wants to volunteer, we are always looking for volunteers, especially at our food pantry. That's needed the most. If you want to volunteer or bring a meal in, go to the website ccwdis, that's Chambersburg Cold Weather Drop-In Shelter.org, and you can click on the schedule and find out where you can put your efforts in to volunteer.
All right. Well, thank you. That's all the time we have. Thank you, Craig Newcomer of Maranatha Ministries. Come back anytime. I'm Lois Steichen, your host of Around Your Community. I'll be back next week with a brand new guest. See you then.
Thank you for listening to Around Your Community. WRGG is dedicated to bringing you information on the nonprofits that serve Greencastle, Antrim, and southern Franklin County. WRGG, we are GA.
Antrim Way Honda is proud to call Greencastle their hometown. And speaking of home, Antrim Way Honda is home to a large selection of pre-owned vehicles. Something for every budget. A dedicated buyer can help you find a vehicle not on their lot. Every car is put through a multi-point inspection so that when you drive away, you'll know you have a vehicle that you can depend on. Antrim Way Honda, 200 South Antrim Way in Greencastle, is just off exit 3 of Interstate 81. You can also check out their inventory online at antrimhonda.com. Antrim Way Honda, proudly supporting good companion radio here at WRGG.
We are GA. We are WRGG LP Greencastle.
This is an NBC News Radio special report. The White House is condemning the violence yesterday at the U.S. Capitol.
The violence we saw yesterday at our nation's Capitol was appalling, reprehensible, and antithetical to the American way.
In the first briefing from the White House on the matter, Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany said the protesters who stormed the Capitol are the opposite of what they stand for. An answer for calls to remove President Trump from office could be just hours away. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says she hopes to hear from Vice President Pence by tonight. She and others are pleading with him to invoke the 25th Amendment. The U.S. Secret Service is putting up unscalable fencing around the White House until the inauguration. Secret Service made the request to the National Park Service last night to put up the fence for at least a week. The fencing is nearly identical to the barrier erected during Black Lives Matter protests over the summer. Brian Shook, NBC News Radio.
Hometown charm and a relaxed atmosphere is what awaits you at She Claire's Hair Designers and Beards Barbers. A full-service salon, She Claire's offers hairstylists specializing in color, an amazing nail technician, and now a new barbershop, plus Paul Mitchell Focus products. She Claire's has been serving the Greencastle Antrim community for over a decade, accepting new clients. She Claire's Hair Designers and Beards Barbers, 515 East Madison Street, Greencastle. May be reached for an appointment at 717-597-5568. That's 717-597-5568.
Supporting WRGG, ELM Department Store has been your local source for quality men and women's clothing, specializing in big and tall sizes for men. ELM Department Store has been providing personalized clothing solutions to customers from Greencastle and surrounding communities since 1941. ELM Department Store, conveniently located in Greencastle, Pennsylvania.
Greetings, everybody. Join me, Chad Merrill, every Wednesday from noon to 4 p.m. as we look back into the hits from the 50s, 60s, and early 70s, even those 45s that have been forgotten over the years. Also at 2 p.m. every Wednesday, I will play 3 songs that have something in common, and if you can identify the theme in the Oldies Theme Contest, you can get bragging rights on 93.7 WRGG.
WRGG weather.
Now the weather forecast for WRGG. Increasing clouds, the low temperature 27 overnight. A few flurries on Friday, the high 37. Clear Friday night, the low 24. Saturday mostly sunny, the high 38. Clear Saturday night, the low 24. Increasing clouds Sunday, the high 38. For WRGG, I'm nowcast meteorologist Chad Merrill.
Live from the studios of WRGG 93.7 FM in downtown Greencastle, Mid Penn Broadcasting presents Chalk Talk. On air at WRGG 93.7 FM and online at WRGG.org and MidPennBroadcasting.com. This is Chalk Talk, a program dedicated to Franklin County High School sports. Now, here's Gary Klein and John Freeman.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Chalk Talk for this 7th day of January as we get set for the start of the high school winter sports season at long last, John. A little late, but we're ready to go tomorrow.
Better late than never.
Yeah.
A little 3-week interlude in the middle of preseason practice, but we made it through, and the teams have been practicing this week, and I think they're more than chomping at the bit to get at it tomorrow night.
Yeah, you better believe it. And after and a big sigh of relief that you're going to get a chance to play because
Absolutely. And again, who knows what's going to happen over the next 6 weeks? You certainly hope that the winter sports season proceeds as smoothly as the fall sports season went. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but it was still, I think, a heck of a lot better than any of us thought it might have been last August. But we got through it, and everybody got to play the games, and they crowned champions. And hopefully we can do that again here for winter over the next couple of months.
Yes, let's hope so. I think 90% of the games were played in football across the state, and the downside was had to be some forfeits during the championships or the District 3 or PIAA.
Yeah, some teams had to pull out for COVID reasons and whatnot. So kind of put a little bit of a damper on that, but that's to be expected.
Yep, and I think the good thing, John, is the fact that the teams have actually, I think it's March 27th is the date to complete the winter sports schedule if need be.
Yeah, that sounds right. I know the PIAA District 3 met earlier today. I don't think they set the playoff teams, but they did set the dates for the postseason. They went over a couple of other things. They set a cutoff date for scheduling. I know one thing we saw during the football season, towards the end of the season, we saw some teams scrambling to add dates in order to kind of boost their standing in the power rankings. I think what the District 3 officials are looking to do is not have that happen in basketball, so you have to have all your games scheduled by a certain date for them to be counted in the power rankings. If you add a game after that date, it won't count. Okay. So that's kind of one thing to kind of pay attention here as we move on. Again, they did not decide on the number of teams that will go to the postseason. That's something that will be done in their next meeting in a couple of weeks. You got to kind of think they're going to follow what they did in the fall and restrict the number of playoff teams. We roughly saw half the number of qualifiers we would see in a normal year qualify for the postseason. So you kind of got to kind of think that's what we'll also see here in the winter.
Yes, and did they set a date for the actual cutoff to qualify for the districts?
They did, and I will have to go on the website and look it up. I read it this morning, or read it early this afternoon when the meeting was over, but it's slipping my mind for now. Okay, so I will check and see here.
But we're not going to see the Harrisburg situation like we did in football, where they get a game at midnight and play the next afternoons.
No, I think that was just one of those occasions where they opted out and early they opted out, and then they saw everybody was playing and they're like, well, we want to get some of this. So they kind of jumped in. And you know, football and basketball, when it comes to scheduling, football and basketball are totally different animals.
Yes.
You know, you can play a basketball game Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It's not easy, but you can do it.
Yeah.
You can't play a football game 3 days in a row. So it makes it a little bit more challenging to fill in that schedule.
Although some teams played with relatively short rest, like
there were Friday, Mondays, Tuesday, Fridays.
Yeah, they did, but not like, and you know, I've seen 4 basketball games a week already. If you need to, maybe even more. But I remember 4 on different occasions.
Yeah, they're usually not scheduled that way, but you know, in the wintertime in central Pennsylvania, weather plays a factor, and you know, sometimes you may have a Monday, Tuesday, Friday scheduled, and you have a game snowed out, and you may have to play on a Saturday. So now you're playing 4 times a week. Actually, I did find it, Gary, on the PIAA District 3 website. The power ranking freeze date will be Saturday, February 13th, and the deadline will be the 27th. So only games scheduled effective February 13th will count towards the power rankings.
Yeah.
So if you add a game after that date, it won't count towards the power rankings. And then the power ranking deadline will be Saturday, February 27th. So that'll be the last day teams can play to improve their standings in the power rankings. The District 3 M&T Bank Basketball Championships will begin on Monday, March 1st and conclude on Friday, March the 12th. A complete schedule will be revealed at the next District 3 meeting on Tuesday, January 19th. So that's when we'll know for sure the number of teams that will qualify for the postseason. Again, I haven't heard anything. I'm sure there's been a lot of discussion, and there are probably people that know what they're going to do. But like I said, if I had to guess, I would say we're going to see a reduction in teams in the postseason, similar to what we saw with the fall sports. But we'll see.
Yes, I think it's highly likely they will, because we've had especially in 5A, it's normally 16 teams.
Yeah, half. It's approximately half, you know, give or take. Half the teams in each classification will qualify for the District 3 tournament. And there have been like 30, 31, 32 teams, something like that in 5A. And they have taken 16 over the past 4 years. Now, this is a new year classification-wise, so I'm not sure exactly how many teams are in 5A. I would assume it's similar to what we've seen in the past. You know, school enrollments change over time, but I really don't think it would be any dramatic difference. So, you know, under a normal circumstance, you have to assume they're going to take 14, 16 teams, something like that. In a normal year, this year, it could be 8. We'll see.
Yeah, it is. So it's going to be much harder to get into the playoffs without question if they go that route.
And you know, the Blue Devil boys soccer team got pinched last fall. I mean, I think they finished 11th or 12th in the power rankings, which in a normal year would have got them in the postseason. But with the reduction that we saw this fall, they were on the outside looking in when the postseason started.
Yeah, and that's what with the reduced, it's going to affect a great number of teams to get into the playoffs. So, the thing is right now that they have the opportunity to play. And,
right, which is all that matters.
Yeah, right. And that's the big thing right now is the opportunity to play and get your season in. So, and we hope it goes without interruption, but like you said, who knows?
Anything can happen. I mean, it's, a situation where you could be, game planning and practicing, preparing for an opponent on a Friday night, and 9 o'clock that morning, the school gets a call and the game's postponed. So we'll see.
Yep, and we hope that doesn't happen too often. But I like the fact that there's that buffer there, because we basically have a little bit shy of 3 months to get the basketball season in, January, February, and all of March. And I'm sure they had talked about this, but teams can actually come back and play after they would be eliminated from the districts, and teams that don't qualify can play through the districts. Yeah.
Right, but you can only play you only can play up to a certain amount of games. I think it's 20. I know 22 is the normal length of the regular season.
Is it 20? I thought at one time I saw 18. That may have changed.
That may be the number they set, but I know in the past I think teams have played up to 20 games, 22 maybe?
22 is normally.
Yeah.
And this year I saw where it was 18.
Okay,
but
so they reduced it to 18 this year. Okay.
Yeah, and a lot of the teams right now have that 16, 17 game schedule, and I think a lot of them are waiting, like you said. And I mean, Chambersburg said they're maybe waiting to add a strong team later in the season. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a case where, if you're out of the power rankings and you need to win against a strong opponent to boost you up a few spots, maybe you do that. Or if you just want to get a game and get a win to add a few cheap points, maybe you add someone not quite so good.
So good and grab some points, right? Yeah. Yeah, it depends what your situation is, right?
If it's an all or nothing, you need that big win, make that big jump to get in. Maybe you schedule someone tough, and if it's just you need to pad the schedule out a little bit, well, grab somebody small.
And exactly. So you do get to play the system a little bit with these rules.
Smart coaches, smart ADs are always keeping an eye out for that.
Yeah, with the opportunity right there. And Greencastle starts tomorrow night. The boys are at Camp Hill, and the girls are home with Camp Hill tomorrow night. So that's the first game for Greencastle. And also Shippensburg gets underway tomorrow night, and the big matchup to start off, they play the Northern Polar Bears at Shippensburg. And they get underway. Waynesboro will start on Saturday with York Votech on Saturday afternoon. Chambersburg will not open until the 12th of this month, which would be next Tuesday, and they'll jump right into the fire against a team that's heavily favored to win that Commonwealth, Central Dauphin. And they will, jump right into it on Tuesday night. We're going to be joined here in a few moments by Ed Gottwals, and we'll take this break and come back with more of Chalk Talk on 93.7 FM WRGG.
Everything is looking a little iffy. T&B Cleaning can make it spiffy. Having out-of-town guests coming to visit, giving the place a deep cleaning, moving to a new home, T&B Cleaning can give that carpeting a clean, fresh look. T&B is your hometown carpet cleaner. A locally owned family business, T&B Cleaning provides friendly, professional service at reasonable prices. You may call Bob Fields at 717-729-2974. That's 717-729-2974. T&B Cleaning will make those floors look new again.
Join us each week for music and the spoken word, featuring the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square, the longest-running continuous weekly network broadcast in the world, celebrating over 90 years on the air. Each episode features modern and traditional arrangements of spiritual, patriotic, classical, and contemporary music, and a timely, inspiring message. Music and the spoken word with the Tabernacle Choir.
Every Sunday at 11 a.m. right here on WRGG FM.
WRGG FM.
And welcome back, everyone, here to Chalk Talk for this Thursday night. And we will momentarily here be talking with Ed Gottwals. John, while I get Ed, I'll bring you in here to talk a little bit about the Blue Devils.
Who?
The Blue Devils?
Who are they, Gary?
Okay. I'll pass you some notes over here.
Actually, you need to call Ed and need me to fill. I can do that.
Yeah.
Before we get Ed on the phone, we want to point out the fact, as Gary said right before the break, the Blue Devil girls open up the season tomorrow night. They will be at home against Camp Hill, and you will be able to hear that game right here live on WRGG and also at midpennbroadcasting.com and for that matter, WRGG.org. Blue Devils and Camp Hill will be getting things underway around 7:30 tomorrow evening. We will be live at the gym to bring you the game, both audio and video. Pre-game show is expected to start around 7:10 tomorrow. So the girls coming into the season only losing 2 starters from last year's team. So they bring back 3 starters and the 2 or 3 of their top players coming off the bench. So head coach Mike Ryan certainly looking forward to this season. They will have a fairly tough test as they will take on Camp Hill tomorrow night. Full season of Blue Devil boys and girls basketball coming up this year, Gary. We will have home games only with the COVID-19 pandemic and issues with visiting schools and the limited amount of seats that are allowed to be sold. We really don't have the ability to go on the road and have the away gyms welcome us in. But we will be doing the home games, and at least for Greencastle, with Mid Penn Broadcasting, the Shippensburg away game, the Waynesboro away game will also be broadcast on Mid Penn Broadcasting. So while it won't be WRGG, you can still see it on Mid Penn Broadcasting. So it's going to be a tough year to be a fan, because it's going to be tough to get into gyms to watch basketball, but we will be there to bring you all the action. And actually, Gary, if you don't know this, it'll be our 5th year here on WRGG. I know it's been many more years with Mid Penn Broadcasting, but this will open up the 5th season of live Greencastle basketball on WRGG, and they said it wouldn't last.
Yeah, and they said it wouldn't last, and it has.
They still haven't kicked us out.
Yeah, right. And we're trying to reach Ed. There must be some... Ed? Okay.
I think Ed's hiding from us.
All right. Are you here now? Oh, okay. Hang on. I don't have you on the air here, Ed. Let me...
Trying to bring Ed Gottwalls in?
Yes, and apparently they've changed this phone here. So let's... and... No, I don't hear Ed.
Actually, Gary, I'm surprised Ed has the time to come on the air with us with all the preview stories he's been writing.
Oh, yes, I know, right?
Yeah, I figured he'd be in bed sleeping, because I think he's been working nonstop the past 72 hours.
Yeah.
With all the coaches and players he's talked to and stories he's written. I think Ed's probably exhausted.
Yeah, it should be, right? We have all that, and we're going to try it once again here.
Technology, it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing when it works.
Yeah, we'll have, like I said, we'll have the girls' game tomorrow night. Also, girls next Tuesday and next Friday. The schedule, interestingly enough, Gary, for Greencastle was kind of lopsided. The girls are at home quite a bit in the first half of the season, and then the boys will be home in the second half of the season. So you'll get a lot of girls basketball on the radio for a few weeks, and then it'll be primarily boys games. Again, as we bring them to you here on WRGG and Mid Penn Broadcasting. Again, 5 years. I know it was Greg Hoover and Ron Oliver for a couple of years, and then I kind of took over, and we continue on.
It's hard to believe it's been that long, isn't it? Yeah. I believe we have Ed on the line now. Okay, we'll have to do it this way. For some reason, our studio phone, we can't get through, so... Yeah. Okay, Ed.
I was feeling a little disenfranchised there.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, I could hear you, but nobody else could hear you, Ed. And here we are. Finally, we're going to get to start the winter sports season after all this time. So kind of excited to get going here. And Chambersburg opens on Tuesday night with Central Dauphin.
Tough draw right there.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I think I read in your story where they were one of the favorites or the favorite to win the Commonwealth.
I think CD and Cumberland Valley are probably head to head there for that. So, and that's the first two games Chambersburg plays.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. The first two games, and they're going to jump right into it, which brings me here to my next question. As you mentioned in your story, they do not return a starter from last year's team.
That's correct. They basically had 5 seniors last year that started every game, and they had another 5 group of underclassmen that came in, and they have all. So those kids are all back except for Brant Byers, who was their big guy at 6'7". He decided to play at Scotland campus. So he obviously has improved a good bit over the last year. That's kind of a big loss for Chambersburg. But that's a decision he decided to make, and he's definitely going for it big time. And Scotland's got a great program there, so he'll definitely benefit from it.
Yeah, and it will be a loss to Chambersburg. And I think, from the article I read, playing into it was the fact of the uncertainty of the season this year, for one thing in the PIAA.
Yeah, every team's kind of facing that. But I would say when you have a team like this where you don't have a whole lot of experience coming back, all the time that you would have lost, it might count a little bit more than some other teams. Like Central Golf and Cumberland Valley, those guys have all played together on varsity level, for all of last year, and so they're going to have an advantage because they're used to playing with each other. And I would. The thing that's really an unknown to me is how much teams actually got together, like over the summer and fall and stuff like that. I know, Chambersburg in a normal year, they've got summer leagues and fall leagues, and they've got open gyms, and pretty much if you're a basketball player and you want to do something, there's something available for you.
Yeah.
I have no idea what other teams did about that. I know Chambersburg, especially once they had this delay like in December, I knew Rec Director Jeremy Flores was very, very specific about not doing anything that you're not allowed to do. I heard several of the coaches I talked to said that, he was adamant about that. Mm-hmm. Who knows about some other schools? It might be possible that they just decided to get together on their own and nothing official, but that's the kind of stuff you just don't know.
Yeah, right. And,
So who follows the rules and who doesn't follow the rules, basically?
Yeah.
The only thing I asked Coach Trumper about that, was there any other way that they could get together, just to do drills or something? He said, well, the two Jaeger boys who are twins, they could play against each other. Nobody else.
Yeah, right. Nobody else. But how about informally, though, Ed?
They weren't supposed to do anything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And realistically, if you're talking about, I asked him, well, could they go to the YMCA or the rec department, something like that? He said, no.
Yeah.
They're not really. That was part of the deal. Was you're not allowed to gather indoors and have anything at all, organized. So.
Yeah.
Basketball is a little different. At least if they could find somewhere there's an outdoor basket or something, they could at least shoot or something like that. Wrestlers really can't wrestle against yourself.
Yeah. Right.
That would look funny.
Yeah.
And swimmers, if you can't get in the water, really wrestling and swimming, the only thing you do is try to keep your cardio up.
Yeah.
That's about it. And basketball, other than shooting, that's about all you can do. So it's, and you really, if you're starting Friday, you only really had 4 days of practice, so, you have to really hope that, if all the teams are in the same boat, so, see how it plays out. But I think, to get back to your question, I think if you've got an experienced team, like Greencastle boys, I think you've got a leg up on everybody right away, because they've already played with each other, in fact, in Greencastle's case, almost 3 years now.
Yeah.
So I think that really could help them.
That would be indeed a major plus. And Greencastle is looking at that right now, as you said. They have the same team back. Yeah. And that now Chambersburg, Ed, how do you think they can compete in this Commonwealth division here? Naturally they're not what I would call inexperienced. They have returnees, but but not returning starters.
Well, when's the last time you saw a Chambersburg team that really couldn't compete? It's been, you have to go back to when Schreffer was not there for a few years.
Right, exactly.
They've got, a lot of good athletes, and the kids who played JV last year, they had a pretty decent season. I think what's going to hurt them is they don't really have much height. I don't know what the league looks like in terms of height. I know Cumberland Valley's got some good height. Central Dauphin, not really, but they've got a lot of good players. I think when they play those two games, you'll kind of know, how far they have to go to get to that upper level. But again, like Schreffler said, I think as the season goes on, if they can keep playing together, I think they'll be middle of the pack. That's kind of where I'm thinking. They might steal a couple wins here and there for some teams that, because I just think teams really don't like playing Chambersburg.
Yeah.
Because they're usually really good on defense, and they're very disciplined, and, you can't just go in there and just freewheel and beat them most of the time. You have to really earn it, and that's a Schreffler hallmark there, I'd say.
Yeah.
So, they're not going to be, I don't think they're going to be quite as good as they have been just because of the lack of height and lack of experience. But the talent's there, and by the end of the year, they might be right up there again.
Yes, and typically here, and this has been true over the last several years, Chambersburg normally comes on stronger as the season winds down, and especially, late in the season, a lot of time, they're playing their best basketball.
I would agree with that, and I know the 1 year was kind of because of injuries. They had a couple of people out early in the season. But I also think their coaching staff does a great job of scouting teams and learning how to, to play Chambersburg's strengths against theirs. And maybe it might work out better in the second game than the first game once they've seen them.
Yeah, and it's but yes, it's always exciting, and we were talking before. We not sure yet. The District 3 has not said yet how many teams they are taking to the playoffs this year.
Right.
Yeah. So we'll find that out. I think the next meeting, John. You said.
Yeah, they're meeting the 19th, and that's when they will officially release the number of teams in each classification that will qualify for the postseason.
Yeah. So but starting off with Cumberland or Central Dauphin and Cumberland Valley, that's a pretty tough go of it in the beginning. So and they're right, and just the way the schedule worked out here, after coming back. So and I expect it to be a decent season, like you, Ed, and getting better as the season goes along. And,
I think they're going to be competitive. I don't know of any other teams other than CV and CD that are, quote unquote loaded. And Altoona probably be decent, and State College I'm sure will be decent. CD's usually up there, but I think other than that they'll be there. They've got some good shooters, and they, like I said, they're always scrappy on defense. So. We'll see. They don't really have any big scorers to speak of, although, again, these kids didn't play. They were kind of the second-level kids last year, but several of them had big games here or there, but not consistently. And plus, they're also starting out the year without Eli Shearer, who, to my eye, seemed like he had the most. There were some of the plays he made were just phenomenal last year.
Yes.
He's got a lot of athletic ability. I'm not sure how long he's going to be out, but he injured himself before the season, and he's still doing rehab, so he won't be there first couple games, I think.
Yeah, so they're expecting back then sometime, during the season. We just don't know a timetable. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And so, it should be, should be another interesting year. It always is in the Mid Penn Commonwealth. Now, on the other side of it, Ed, the girls' team that has, struggled for many years, a little more hope on the way for this year.
Yeah, I would say this is the most experience they've had back since as long as I can remember. And they did lose two seniors, but they got two girls back who started 2 years ago. So I think probably a pretty good trade-off, in that respect.
Yeah.
And one of those is Robin Stepler, who was going to be the starting point guard 2 years ago. She scored 17 points in her first game and then hurt her knee and did not play last year. So I think that's a great pickup for Coach English. That's to have somebody who's experienced at point guard to step right in, it just helps everybody.
Yes, it should, and I think they have to find a way to put a few more points on the board.
Yeah, I think in my article, I think it was 7 games last year that didn't even get to 30 points.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
And so obviously that's got to be better. They have a number of girls that can hit threes, but just not with enough regularity, I guess.
Yeah.
If you look down the scoring totals, you have like Aaron Patillo and Stepper probably takes some threes too, and Maddie Fleiss. They all had games where they scored like 16, 19 points, something like that, but it just wasn't very consistent,
Yeah.
So they do have some games where they shoot well, but it has to be a little more consistent, I think. But you're talking about Chambersburg boys' schedule. The Chambersburg girls is even harder.
Yes,
They start Friday against Gettysburg,
Yeah.
And then they play Central Dauphin, and they play Cumberland Valley, and they're all on the road, and all three of those teams were in states last year.
Yeah. And Chambersburg, as you noted, Ed, lost only won one of their last 13, lost 13 of their last 14 games last year, and it was 7 under 30 points. But yes, and Gettysburg spent a good deal of the season ranked number 1. Exactly. And Central Dauphin and Cumberland Valley, I don't ever remember them having a down year. They're two phenomenal girls basketball programs. I mean,
that's the one. We Gary, you and I have said many times about how strong Mid Penn Commonwealth is.
Yeah.
I think girls basketball is their strongest sport for that league.
Yeah,
Central Dauphin and Cumberland Valley have both won states. Even CD East has gotten pretty far in states. State College has gotten a long way in states. Altoona has too. Even Mifflin County. Yeah. Even before they were Mifflin County, they were Lewisburg. They won state titles several times. It's just there's just a lot of really good girls basketball programs. Basically, it's everybody, and Harrisburg thrown in there too. Basically, it's all the other teams, and then Chambersburg and Carlisle have been at the bottom every year.
Yes, and it's been.
It's really hard to break through that.
It has been. Now we remember well back in the 90s when Chambersburg was right there with them in the Commonwealth Division. With the battles with CV and CD, but Chambersburg at the time, Emily Bender, Lori Reese, and they had some big time players.
They did. Well, I think I'm going to give Coach English a chance. It's only his second year.
Yes.
I think they'll be better this year, no matter what their record is. They just have more talent, I think.
Yeah.
And there are definitely quite a few games on the schedule I think they can win. What would be nice to see is if they can pick off 1 or 2 wins against those other mid-level teams that would make their record look like CD East or Mifflin County, something like that. That's something they really haven't done. I have to go back and look, but I don't remember them winning any league games except against Carlisle for at least 3 years, maybe.
I think that's I don't either. It's been it's been a long time, and even last year showed some improvement at 4-18. That's they had 4 wins, and I think that's the most they've had in a few years.
It is, and there were some other games they were pretty close in too. So I think Coach English thinks they can pick off a couple of those wins this year. It's just that's why it's a little disappointing for him that they're having to start off with those 3 games like that. It doesn't want to help lose their confidence. Whereas if it had been a normal schedule, they would have had some non-conference games. They might have been, a little more, closer or something like that. So
and you normally start off with that tip-off tournament. So, that's an opportunity to pick off a win or so early in the season. And I think the Lady Trojans have even won that a few times over the years on the girls' side. But now you don't have it. You're jumping in against the toughest competition in the Commonwealth. It's indeed a tough way to start. And so, and that's the thing you mentioned. It can really destroy your confidence early on if you play these teams that, and end up getting blown out in all of them.
Yeah. Well, I guess the hope would be that they're better now and they're not going to get blown out as bad.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody would expect them to win those.
No.
but it certainly it wouldn't hurt their confidence if they were competitive.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it would. So, and it should be interesting. And we're going to get an opportunity to see the girls a lot this year, as on Mid Penn Broadcasting, we will be doing all the boys and girls home games this season, as well as all the wrestling matches in Chambersburg this year. So we'll have a lot of basketball and wrestling coming up. And also on the Greencastle side here, John and I talked briefly about the Blue Devils, the Blue Devil boys coming off of the a couple of bad years here over the last 2 years. Things, and you mentioned that, a team like Greencastle with veteran starters could be a big plus here in the early going.
I think it should be. Coach Lewis said he didn't really change anything, and I think that was one of the reasons why he didn't was, they wanted nothing new to learn. They just come in and doing the same things, and he thinks put them that much farther ahead. But yeah, I think they certainly all know how to play with each other. Now they do have a 6'4" freshman that's going to start, Connor Wright. So he'll have to get himself acclimated to that group. But anytime you have, I don't care what the record was last year. Anytime you have your top 7 players, plus you add another pretty decent one, you got to be better. There's almost no chance of not being. I do think the one caution note is, and I know Rick said, they have to improve their defense, and I didn't really think about that as much. When I started going back to the stats, they had a lot of points scored in them last year.
I'll get John to run these figures by you, by us here. We talked about earlier, and yes, it's hard to it's hard to win games with these kind of numbers.
Okay, here we go, Ed. Last year, Blue Devil boys basketball team defensively, in 21 games they allowed teams to score between 40 and 49 points 1 time, 50 to 59 points 7 times, 60 to 69 points 5 times, 70 to 79 4 times, and 80 and above 5 times. Tough to win high school basketball games when you're giving up that many points.
That's really unusual.
Yeah. And you said Greencastle averaged 51?
51.1 points last year.
Yeah, they averaged.
So they can score. There's no doubt about that. They just have to keep the other team from scoring.
Yeah. Now with averaging 51, you should win your fair share of games.
That's a pretty strong offensive team.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say one thing in their defense with Shippensburg and Northern in there. Those 2 teams are probably as good as any Colonial team, probably all the way back to like Greencastle and JB in 2006.
Yeah.
They're both loaded, and I wouldn't expect them. I would expect them to have trouble in defense against them. But like you said, there's an awful lot of other games where they allowed a lot of points, and that ended up being their downfall.
Yeah, and that's the one thing. If they're gonna make a run, and I think this is a team that has the ability to finish somewhere around 500, and 500 will most likely get you into the postseason if they go with the normal amount of teams. So. It's easy to analyze a team when you have everybody back because you know exactly what they are. There's not a whole lot of speculation with new players. And, you look at this team, and if they can improve on the defensive end of the basketball floor, they can be a successful team this year.
I agree because they are athletic.
Right.
You would think they should be able to play good D. They have enough height, I think.
Right.
In most cases. But, yeah, I guess, from what I've heard coaches say, it's a mentality, and hopefully that's something they picked up, in the offseason.
Right. Yeah, and that's going to be the difference between success or failure. They're going to score enough points to win basketball games. The question is going to be can they hold the other team point-wise and still win those games?
Especially getting stops when they need it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, can you teach defense?
You can, but I think like what Ed said, defense is more of a mindset than anything else. To score, you need the athletic skill. But, defense is just grit, determination, hard work. You don't have to be the most skilled player in the world to be a strong defensive player. I think it's more a mindset than anything else. So we'll see.
Yep. Yeah, and we'd like to see. It's been a few years now for the Blue Devils, and despite that, this is Rick Lewis's 5th year, and he still has just under 500 for those 5 years. 4 years previously he's been here. Got off to a great start. Right. And then these last 2 years, it's just been,
Yeah, the first 2 years were, the team won the Colonial Division. I think they went, something like 21-1 in the Colonial those first 2 years.
Yes.
To qualify for the state tournament 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
And, it's just been a little rough the past couple of years.
And it does happen. And this 6'7" freshman?
6'4".
6'4", I'm sorry, 6'4", yes. And how long's it been since Greencastle's had that kind of height there? Yeah.
They've had 6'3", 6'4" kids in the past. They really haven't had anyone above that.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. You have to remember, there's a lot of, I don't know if hype is the right word, but there's a lot of anticipation to see what he can do. And, I think you just have to kind of be careful a little bit. I mean, this is a 14 or 15-year-old, depending on, I'm not sure exactly when his birthday is, but he's going to be going up against, 17, 18-year-olds. So, it's going to be an adjustment. I could be wrong. He could come in and dominate from day one, but there may be a bit of a learning curve, as he gets used to playing kids that are older and maybe a little bit stronger than him. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, Greencastle hasn't started a freshman in their first game of the year since Brian Gemby 6 years ago. So we'll see. Certainly a lot of promise and a lot of hope there, but give it time. We'll see how it goes.
Yep. Exactly. And okay, you have Shippensburg and Northern at the top of this division. What about the rest of the division there?
It kind of gets a little jumbled after that. I mean, I think everyone agrees Ship and Northern are at the top of the class. Injuries, illnesses can certainly change that, but at least based on what we know here at the beginning of the season, those are that's the class of the field. I think JB and West Perry will kind of be fighting it out in the 7th and 8th spot. And then I think the 4 teams in the middle, Big Spring, Boiling Springs, Greencastle, and Waynesboro, I think those 4 teams, they're going to slot that 3, 4, 5, and 6 spot, and I could see any team in any one of those spots. Yeah. So I think it's very top heavy with Shippensburg and Northern, a little weak at the bottom with JB and West Perry, and then you have 4 teams in the middle that are they could play each other every night, and one team beats the other, and then beat
It's a shame that this year we're probably not going to have much in the way of spectators, but those 2 Shippensburg Northern games would be packed gyms and loud as heck.
Oh my, yes. Wouldn't that be? And tomorrow night is the first one already. That's quite a way to start.
Really? I didn't even notice that.
Yes, yep, it's Northern is at Ship tomorrow. But yeah, we're going to miss those crowds in a gym. I mean, that's part. Now look, you take and last year, Shippensburg and Northern played 2 great ball games. And the gym at Shippensburg can make a lot of noise, that small gym. There's no question. That's quite an experience there. And Greencastle also, you pack that place, it can be rocking.
I think it's going to be interesting to see how coaches behave themselves. When you're in a packed gym with over 1,000 people screaming and yelling, you can scream and yell all you want. Yeah. In an empty gym, it'll be interesting to see if the coaches adjust to how they use their voice.
Yeah.
When discussing things with the officials. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Yeah, that should be. It should be interesting. You probably have to watch what you say a little bit. Yeah.
Maybe temper your language a little bit.
Yeah, right? Because what you could say and nobody hears, everybody.
Right, when 1,000 screaming fans are, kind of talking over you and no one can hear that. Then now you're in the gym with, maybe 25 people, 30 people. I think that's probably all they're going to allow. So,
yes.
Different.
Yeah, it will be different. And no question it will. Well, on the other side of it here, the Greencastle girls look like they're poised for another big season.
Yeah, they should be. Go ahead, Ed.
Again, they've got a lot of experience coming back, and I guess they lost 2 starters from last year, but Coach Ryan is feeling pretty good about the girls who took their place. So, again, they've played together and worked together, and so he likes what he sees. He thinks he has the ingredients for pretty successful season. He was remember back to last year when they had 1 week when they lost all three games that week, and I think Lauren Poole missed 2 of those games and was she'd been sick and just wasn't herself for the 3rd game. He said, if he changed that week, we'd have been right there for the division, probably have a higher seed in district. So I think he believes they can do that again this year.
Yeah, and they last year they went to Twin Valley and lost in the first round.
Right, and I think Twin Valley ended up placing 2nd in district, so that was a tough draw.
Yeah, it was. It was really a tough draw for them last year. And but there's a program rich in tradition. They always seem to, come out with a good program and good season.
Yeah, I mean, they were district champions in 2015. That great run they had there, and I think they've been in the district playoffs all but 1 year over the past 10, 12 years. So yeah, they've been very successful. Like Ed said, two starters are gone. One of those starters, Ashley Noblet, she's gone. And what do? You plug in her little sister Haley. She'll step into the starting point guard spot. So you lose one Noblet, you replace them with another, and off you go. And the other thing I think is kind of interesting when you look at that girls' roster, you see a lot of names on there that you saw playing soccer this past fall, and that was
That's funny. I was going to bring that point up too.
Yeah, that was a pretty good girls' soccer team that went undefeated in the regular season and made it all the way to the district semifinals. So not only
John, you can go back to the last couple times Greencastle had really good girls basketball. They were good in soccer this time too.
Yeah, that's right.
Because girls played both of them. Yeah.
So not only good basketball players, but outstanding overall athletes, which is what coaches like to see.
Yeah, and what was it, Ed? 7 or 8 of the players had played a fall.
8 of the 9.
9, yeah.
8 of the 9 played some fall sport.
8 of the 9, yeah. So you have some athletes.
Yeah.
No question, yeah. And now, Greencastle, what about the rest of the division?
Well, Coach Ryan pointed out, I guess Shippensburg and Northern and Big Spring as probably the 3 other teams that'll be up there, at the top. I guess Northern won it last year, which is the first they've done that in girls basketball for a long time. So they got some girls back. Big Spring gets back that one girl, Noreka, who missed all last year with a knee injury. I think she had a real good freshman year, so she can score. And you have Tori Rumberger at Shippensburg, who's a pretty good scorer too. So all 3 of those teams, have the potential to do pretty well. I'm sure Coach Ryan thinks he can compete with all of them, though.
Yes, and they normally do. There's their games are always fun to watch. I think the Greencastle girls.
They're never shy about putting the ball up. That's for sure.
That's it. They're going after 3-pointers. And I think Coach Ryan referred to that in the article about all the 3-point shots. And, they go for the 3. They could play some exciting basketball.
Yep, I agree. And the more of those they hit, the more it opens up inside because they've got a couple players underneath that can definitely score. So that definitely works in their favor.
And they have a few players who can nail the threes too. So yeah. So
Sage Wilhite is the top returner. I think she averaged almost 3 3-pointers a game. That's pretty good. That'll help loosen up things.
Oh yes, yeah. You start getting the threes and they seem sometimes to come in bunches for the Lady Blue Devils and so so we'll look forward to an exciting season there. And as John mentioned earlier, all the boys and girls home games we will be live streaming on Mid Penn Broadcasting, and they will be also here on 93.7 FM WRGG. And as well, we will be doing video live stream of the JV games. So you'll be able to watch the JV game also. And that's going to also be in Shippensburg and actually Chambersburg and Waynesboro. So all of them will be, doing the JV games with no fans permitted in the gyms this year. Or I shouldn't say no fans, limited number of fans permitted.
Highly restricted.
Yeah. Have you heard any numbers on that, Ed? I know it's
I think at Chambersburg, the players are allowed like 2 people to come.
Okay, yeah.
I think that's what it is, but I'm not sure if that was the definite answer or whether I just heard that from one of the coaches this week. They thought it was.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, so it is very.
But whoever it was I was talking to, we both kind of felt that it's a shame that Chambersburg, really can't have more people in that gym because it's huge.
Yes.
You can tuck people all over that place and still probably get 300 in there.
Oh,
without any sweat.
Exactly, and you also have the upper level too that you.
Exactly. Yeah, you got there's one set of bleachers up there. Plus, you could have people sit in chairs around the top. You could probably easily get 400 people in there at least without having any issues with social distancing.
I would agree. What is it?
I don't know whether that's the school saying that you can't do that, or whether that's because the state still. I guess it's still like 25% or something like that. I don't know exactly.
It's not even that. It's a percentage. It's lower, isn't it? Like 5 or 10%, and then there's a number where, and it's different on the size of the gym. It's so confusing, but it doesn't add up to many. I think I had heard where Chambersburg, under those guidelines, it's 105, 110 neighborhood. But
see, I've heard that place can seat 3,000.
I was going to ask you what that capacity was, and I don't doubt that at all.
300, right?
That would be 300 at 10%, but then it did not meet the second criteria, I'm afraid, Ed, where it has to be maxed out because you have this whichever is lesser. Like I said, you read them once and you shake your head and say, what does this mean? And try to make sense of it. And then, of course, your smaller capacities, you go down, but percentages go up. And, so it's... anyway, and like you said, you could easily put 300 to 400 people in there without
without having any issues in terms of distance.
Right, because it is big. And you say 3,000 is the capacity. Okay, that's the number
that was given. Yeah,
I can certainly believe that. With the way
that's including those bleachers up on top.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And which the only time they normally were used was for Trojan Wars. The ones upstairs. So, and did they open them up for a playoff game a few years ago? I know they were talking about.
I think I was there was a state semifinal game there a few years ago.
Yeah,
maybe 4 or 5 years ago. They had every seat was all the bleachers.
I think they put them out for Dunks for Drew too.
Yeah, that's right. They very well may have. Yes,
and when they host the Frank County tip-off.
Yeah. Yeah, that they are there. It's rare, but it does. It does happen. And Chambersburg wrestling, Ed. What are we looking at here? So,
well, I think they got a chance for a good season. They've been very consistently in contention for the Mid Penn Commonwealth, and I think they will be this year. They did lose state champion Luke Nichter, but they have back 4 other kids who had districts last year, and 2 of those guys had made states the year before, just didn't have a good district tournament last year. And they have, I think, 9 starters back, so I think they'll be pretty solid. But the other, in fact, I'm thinking to myself, back when I said the Commonwealth might be the best thing in girls basketball, I think there's 6 teams in the Commonwealth in wrestling, and 5 of them are ranked in the top 25 in the state.
Wow. Okay.
Maybe I'll have to adjust that statement.
Yeah.
And the only one that is in the Cedar Cliff, and they've pretty much been ranked almost every other year.
Yeah.
So it's a very strong. Central Dauphin's probably always going to be the favorite, but I think all the other teams involved are pretty much right there, and just on a day-to-day basis, who's going to win the big matchups might be the decider.
And so it's always and we did not have the Trojan Wars this year, naturally. But they do have something you told me about the other day, the duels on.
What's basically happened is any of the tournaments that were 2-day tournaments, and I think Chambersburg was hosting one, and we're in 3 other ones. They've done away with them because nobody's going to want to stay overnight anywhere.
Yeah.
So all the tournaments are 1 day, and they've decided instead of doing the individual tournaments, they're just going to do duels tournaments. So I think Chambersburg they're in a duels tournament at Gettysburg, and they're in one at Spring Grove, and then they're going to host their own on February 6th. I don't know all the teams in that. I know Big Spring and Shippensburg are both in that.
Yeah.
But they'll get 5 matches in that day, so I guess there's probably 6 teams total there.
Yeah, and that starts like at 9 a.m.?
9 o'clock. 9 o'clock and probably runs till like 4:30.
Yeah.
They'll have 2 matches going at the same time for like 5 straight matches. So it'll be a long day.
Yes, it will, yeah.
We're gonna live stream it, I think.
Yep, that's our plan, to live stream, so it'll be wrestling all day. And is that the same day there's also a basketball game? I believe
there's a girls' game that day.
Yes, there's. There was.
Actually, there might be. I have to look at that again. There might be a boys' game against Hempfield that day.
Yeah, there.
Because I was thinking, Greencastle's own Danny Walk will be coming back to the area.
That's right. Yeah.
Coach at Hempfield.
Yeah, yeah, we ran into him in the playoffs a few years ago. Yeah, at Hershey. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So that that will be interesting, and always a good program with Hempfield for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think Chambersburg Wrestling should have a good season there. You know, obviously their schedule's very strong. I don't know how it's going to translate wins losses, but they'll have some exciting matches. I'm pretty sure of that because they wrestle a lot of good teams.
Yeah, looking over their schedule, it looked like they had with the late start and everything, they still had a lot of prime matchups on there, and we will be live streaming, at least plan here to live stream the home wrestling matches this year, so you'll be able to watch those.
If nothing else, they'll definitely be live streamed by the school. So
yes, on NFHS. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ed, thanks a lot for joining us here tonight, and
no problem.
And look forward to the start of the season. Basketball starting. Well, actually, the boys start on Tuesday, and I think you mentioned the girls at Gettysburg tomorrow night.
That's correct. Yep.
That is correct. Great.
And the wrestling team doesn't start until I think it's the 14th at home against Cumberland Valley.
Yes, so
that's next Thursday.
Yeah, that'll be their first match on Thursday. Yeah. So, okay, we will be talking to you. Just happy to be back, Ed. Let's hope we can get through this uninterrupted. So,
that's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right, Ed. Thanks.
Talk to you later. See you, John.
All right. Bye. Okay, that's Ed Gottwals, and you've more than likely, or you should give him a read in the sports page.
Does anyone work harder than Ed?
Not that I am aware of. Yeah,
I don't think so.
Yes. Yes, we have. He covers Chambersburg and Greencastle.
Everything.
For the sports page. Yes.
Wow. And he's retired, right?
Yes, he is retired.
He says he is.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Wasn't retired for too long, John, because he came right to work for Mid Penn the day I think he retired. So,
and again, we're gonna take this time to plug the sportspage.blog. I mean, you're not going to find better high school sports coverage anywhere in Franklin County.
Yes,
and you can say it's hype or but no, it's a fact.
Yes,
I mean, you look at the local news, I guess they're local newspapers. I don't even know if you can call them local newspapers anymore because they're all owned by USA Today.
Yeah.
But the coverage, the high school sports coverage you get on the sports page blows away anything else you'll see in any of the professional newspapers, I guess we'll call them. Here in Franklin County. So, yeah, great job, Ed. Great job, everybody. I know you have a number of other people that do some writing for the sports page.
Yeah.
No one near as much as Ed. Again, like I said, I'm surprised Ed could come on the show with us tonight because I thought he'd be asleep because he's been writing nonstop since, Sunday afternoon.
But,
I mean, it's great stuff. I mean, between the coverage we have here on WRGG, the Mid Penn Broadcasting stuff, the sportspage.blog stuff, I mean, If you're a high school sports fan and looking for high school sports information, that's where you need to go and nowhere else.
Yeah, that's
plain and simple.
Yeah, that's what it's all about because it's a great need for that in the area and I'm not sure any of the other newspapers even have or very limited, sports, local sports coverage at all.
I think there's, as far as what I've seen, I think there's one person covering the entire county now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You go back 5 years ago, you had 5 people, 3 at the Public Opinion, including Ed.
Yes.
And 2 at the Record Herald. But now, with consolidation and, all sorts of things and, cost cutting and, the fact that newspapers are failing. There's literally one person covers how many sports in Franklin County, which is impossible to do.
Yeah, it's impossible. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So hats off to Ed. Hats off to everybody else at the sportspage.blog. That's where you need to go for your local sports now.
Yep, and we'll have the coverage and looking forward to the coverage here in this winter sports season.
And of course, the great coverage we have in the morning show with WRGG.
That's right. WRGG, John Freeman.
Yeah, who is that guy?
Yeah, John Freeman. I always look forward to that sports report in the morning, so I can.
It's funny when I think it was Monday. When I emailed it, or maybe even last week when I emailed it into Dr. Hoover, I'm like, do you realize in June it will be 5 years we've been on the air?
Yeah, mm-hmm.
That's unbelievable,
isn't it? It's incredible.
Yeah.
Where did the 5 years go?
I know I'm typing the date. It's whatever it was, June 4th, 2020. I'm like 2021. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
We started in 2016.
Yes.
Because we started right before Old Home Week.
Yes.
So I'm like, okay, wait a minute. We had Old
In
Home Week
June.
wasn't last year, but it was the summer before, so that would have been the summer of 2019. So then the previous Old Home Week would have been 2016. I'm like, good God, we've been on this almost 5 years now.
Yeah, we went on in June, the middle of
13th
June.
13th or 14th.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and that too. Yeah, and it'll be 5 years.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And we're still here.
I thought I was old then. And we're still here. How about that?
Yeah.
What other radio station has this kind of stability?
Yeah, someone said, hey, you want to do the local sports? I'm like, yeah, it'll be fun. I can do it for a couple months, whatever.
Yeah, right.
4.5 years later, we're still
there. Yeah. Yeah,
if they wanted to, we're not going anywhere.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's too much fun being here.
Exactly. You can't fire us. We don't get paid. So.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we're gonna stay.
Yeah, we're volunteers. You can't fire us.
Yeah, and you could catch John Sports in the mornings, starting at 6:30 right up through 11:30, about 20 minutes till the hour.
Live on tape.
Yes. Yeah.
If anyone wants to ever come, watch me. You can get up at 5 a.m. and watch me do the sports if you want. Maybe I'll live stream it.
Yeah, live stream it. You can. Yeah, there you go.
Get up at 5 a.m. and watch me live stream, record the sports. That would be exciting.
Yeah.
Make you want to go back to bed and sleep the rest of the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great. I mean, we're excited. Again, it's a crazy situation we're in. Crazy year. The fall was strange. The winter's going to be strange. The spring's going to be strange. But hey, we'll make the best of it and take it day by day, and we'll go from there.
That's pretty much all we can do. Kagan.
More guests.
Yeah. Can you hear me, Kagan?
I can hear you.
Okay. Good evening to you.
Good evening.
Welcome aboard. So we have Waynesboro Indians basketball, which you and James will be doing this year. And the Indians opened their season on Saturday afternoon with York Votech. And as we head into this season, Kagan, what are the prospects here for the Borough in 2021?
Yeah, so they are picked fourth in the division, as I'm sure you know. So right around the middle of the pack. They lost Cole Ryan last year, which he handled the ball and basically had the ball in his hands more than half the time. So it's really hard to replace a guy like that, as you know. But I think they have a lot of guys that would have done better last year or didn't do as well because they didn't have as many opportunities with the guy like Cole. That's not taking anything from him, obviously, but. When you play with a guy that needs the ball in his hands a lot, that's going to limit your ability to kind of shine on the floor. But I think they have, I personally think that they have a little bit more firepower than what everybody expects. However, at 1 and 2, we know what the division looks like with Shippensburg and Northern. That's going to be tough for anybody to make it at the top there. So
they're definitely the big two there. And you say Waynesboro's 4. Who is 3?
I think the public opinion had Greencastle at 3.
Greencastle at 3 and Waynesboro at 4. Okay.
I think it was the public opinion or Penn Live. I'm not sure.
Yeah. And do you feel that number 4 ranking is deserved, Kagan?
So what I think, Gary, is that, and obviously I'm a little bit closer to them than the other 3 teams, as I get to see a lot of their players in like, so that's probably a fair place to put them. Now, I will say that I think that Waynesboro is definitely flying under the radar, and if they can, I don't know where on their schedule Shippensburg and Northern are right now, but I think if they get them early, they might get overlooked and could steal one, possibly two of those games. I think obviously on paper, Waynesboro's not the better team there, but they do have some young talent. Their sophomore class is pretty solid. Their JV team last year went 18-2. Now, I know that doesn't always transition, but...
Yeah. Okay, I think you play Shippensburg very early in the season, like maybe next week. I do
think we got Ship early.
Yeah. Now, as you were saying about knocking off Northern and Northern or Shippensburg, John Freeman was sitting here shaking his head no.
Gary hanging me out to dry.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a knock on Waynesboro. I just think Shippensburg and Northern are both just so good that I don't see anyone else in the division beating them except for each other. We'll see what happens. Actually, I did find the coaches vote that Penn Live puts out every year. They did have Shippensburg 1, Northern 2, Greencastle was at 3, Boiling Springs was 4, Waynesboro 5, Big Springs 6, and then JB 7 and West Perry, the new team in the Colonial, in the number 8 spot. So, Keegan, Gary, and I were talking earlier, and we kind of saw it as Shippensburg and Northern, at the top, no question. JB and West Perry probably going to be bringing up the rear. And then those other 4 teams, you can kind of put them in a hat. I think they're just going to spend the season beating each other. Greencastle will beat Waynesboro will beat Boiling will beat Greencastle, Big Spring will beat somebody. I just see those 4 teams, roughly even, and they're going to shake out somewhere in 3 through 6, and they all very well could be within a game or two. If not, I could see 2 or 3 teams, with those 4 teams within a game of each other, once the Colonial Division season wraps up. I just think they're that even. But time will tell.
Yeah.
Kind of breaking up a little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah.
Actually, Gary dropped his phone, but
Yeah. Unfortunately, I caught it with my other hand.
No, it's just the case. We're kind of looking at it and kicking it around. And it almost seems like Greencastle, Big Spring, Boiling Springs, and Waynesboro are just 4 teams that are, they're really almost the same team, talent wise, and they're going to finish probably 3 through 6 in the division, and I could see Waynesboro finishing in any one of those 4 spots. I could see Greencastle finishing in any one of those 4 spots. Same thing with Boiling Spring and Big Spring. So it's just gonna be one of those cases of who gets the breaks and who gets the ball to bounce their way, because I think those 4 teams are just that even.
Yep. So yeah. In other words, if you didn't catch that, Kagan,
What's that, Gary?
You've got the 2 teams at the top, Northern and Shippensburg, and then the 2 at the bottom, West Perry, JB, everybody else in between. It's like they're going to beat up one another on any given night. Either any of the ones.
That's definitely a fair statement. Like I said, on paper. If I'm a betting guy, I'm not taking Waynesboro to beat Shippensburg or Northern any of the nights that they play them. But I do think that Waynesboro could get some surprising games. I mean, they have, and I know this isn't win all, but they have 2 sophomores that can dunk the ball very easily, and they both are kind of guard forward type players who can handle a little bit. They have, another kid that can dunk, Bryce Schaefer, who's a returning senior. So I mean, they have some very good pieces, but we really don't know what it's going to look like at the varsity level. I do also think, and I don't think I'm letting any cat out of the bag here, that the question that's unanswered for me is going to be the point guard position. I fully anticipate, just simply with Cole Ryan being gone, that they're going to get run the point in 3 years. It might be a 2-headed monster here going into the beginning of the season. But again, neither of those players have any varsity experience at the point, and that in itself could create a guys that can shoot the three. But all that goes out the window if you can't get the ball on the floor. It's really, they have a lot of unknowns. They have a lot of guys that they're expecting a good bit from that played JV last year. So, like I said, the JV team was good, but that doesn't always translate right into varsity wins. So.
Yeah, and you said the JV was 18-2 last year?
Yeah, I think their JV team last year was 18-2. So, I mean, these the players are good, but what does that look like? Not only at varsity, but like we know, 4 of their games are against 2 very good opponents. And I think Greencastle has some size, if I'm not mistaken, which, Waynesboro, they like to play inside.
Yeah.
Their bigs are 6'3", 6'2", so it's not like they're going to match up real well against big opponents. So I think, even though Waynesboro, I think, has a solid team, there's obviously better teams on paper. But I look for them to get better throughout the year, but so will the other teams.
Yeah. You hope, excuse me, you hope that's the case, that you improve during the season.
Yeah, but usually, like Keegan said, the problem is everybody else is getting better as well, so you just have to hope you can improve at a quicker pace than the other teams. Yeah.
So, I mean, I personally, I do think, like, if I was a betting man,
I know you are, Keegan. I know you are.
They're going to steal one.
Keegan, we know you're a betting man.
I'll bet that they will steal one from Shipper Northern. If you gave me even money odds, I'd take it. I don't know that I'd get even money on one or 1 out of 3.
Yeah.
But I do. I think they have enough. Now they have to play their A game, and Shippensburg or Northern would have to play, not their A game. But I think they're going to be overlooked a little bit. They could very easily be 500. They could very easily be under 500 or over 500. I think they'll play in a lot of games because they're going to try and play fast, do a lot of pressing. They are longer and probably more athletic than they have been in the past. But there's still a lot of unknowns, Gary.
Yeah. But you're saying that they're going to get one game out of those 4.
I think they'll get one.
You think?
I really do.
Keegan, Gary's pulling his wallet out right now.
Yeah, right.
Gary's pulling out his wallet right now. He has declined towards credit card out.
Right. Yeah, we're ready to take on some action here, right?
He just put his visor on with the green eye shade, and he's licking his thumb. He's ready to go.
Yeah.
He's pulling the wad of cash out.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I get to see them in practice, so maybe I'm a little too close to the scenario and to their players. They have some weaknesses, and I know that Shippensburg and Northern really don't have too many. So I'm probably wrong on that one, but I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't get one.
Okay. We may check back in here later in the season.
maybe talk to me after Saturday, and I might either take 2 of those games, or I'll take the one back that I gave you.
You do reserve the right to make any changes after this weekend.
Right.
That's good.
But, and you have a game with Yorkville Tech.
Yeah. I'm not sure a lot, honestly, on York, because the practices that I was able to be a part of here this past week were, they just came back. So,
yeah.
I think it was day 12 after a 3-week layoff. So it was really just getting back into the the grind. And I think this is probably how most teams are going to approach it. Is we just got to worry about ourselves this year, and what are we going to have available? Are we staying healthy and things like that? Because you never know what's going to happen and who's going to get infected. One player gets infected and the whole team's done for a week basically or longer.
2 weeks, yeah.
Hopefully none of those scenarios impact in Mid Penn, but I'm sure there will be something. But it's really just been about, we've been trying to focus on our team, our guys. I'm assuming that, tomorrow will be more about your Tech. So I think normally they have one or two at least athletic kids, but we haven't scrimmaged anybody. So the only thing that we've done is, inter-squad stuff. So we really haven't scrimmaged anybody. So the first bullets are going to be the live ones. So again, with another, we have 7 seniors, but then a big portion of our other contributors are guys who just don't have varsity experience, whether they're, juniors or sophomores from JV. They just don't have any varsity experience. So we'll have to see how that plays out, I guess. That's probably, a big determining factor of how they're going to do.
Yeah. Okay. What would your prediction be for the year? Okay. You have 17, 18 games?
Yeah. And I think we're allowed a couple more, I think. I'm not sure.
18 is what they're allowed to play. I looked at the Mid Penn Conference on their website. They say teams can play 18 games is what they're allowed to play.
And I think most teams are scheduling 16 or 17 right now with the hopes of adding. Now, John just told us tonight, February 13th is the cutoff for being able to add games that count toward the districts, correct?
Yeah. I think we already have some games scheduled after.
Well,
that's just off the top of my head.
Well, yeah, you would. That's just games that count. You still have a 2-week window. All games through the 27th count, but they're trying to avoid teams doing last-minute things. A day or two before, and so it's up through the end of the month. Now, I'm sure you're probably aware that you could actually play games this year through March 27th. Even if you go to the districts that are knocked out or played, through the districts, if you don't qualify, if you would need it to make up some games.
No.
Yeah.
I was not personally aware of that, and I know Coach Hoffman's approach on the whole thing is he's just trying to keep his blinders on and coach the team, let the AD handle all that. So I did not know that either.
Yes, it is, and I think it's a good thing because you're not under so much pressure. Well, if you get interruptions, and number two, you're going to eventually get some weather cancellations along the way, so you have that, that to figure in too. So yeah.
So I guess you were asking me what I thought our record would be out of those 18. Is that what you were going to ask?
Yeah, or I guess, after the 17, I think maybe it's only 17 scheduled right now.
Yeah.
I was going.
Gary, I'd say, based on the fact that we're 4th, 5th, 3rd, whatever, like John was saying, top 2, they're probably going to be the top 2. We'll get some wins off the bottom. The middle's going to beat each other up. I'd say that my prediction would be 500 or right above.
500, that sounds. Yeah.
I'd say 500 or right above. Now, it very well could roll the other direction and be 500 or right below.
Yeah.
I don't think with 18 or 17 games we're getting 14 or 15 wins. But I don't know. I think anything above 500 would be meeting expectations because there's so much unknowns. But I'm not really sure. I don't know what Greencastle's looking like. I know that they were picked ahead of us. I can't really remember a ton of who they have coming back. I don't know if is the big kid going to play for them? Don't they have a real big guy?
Yeah. Yeah, he's Connor Wright. He's a freshman. He is expected to start tomorrow night. If you watched Greencastle play last year, you saw the team that'll be on the floor this year because they had 0 seniors on the roster last year, so everybody's back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so they got everybody back.
Everybody,
They added.
And plus they added, But this is a team coming off of, was it a 3-win season last year?
Correct.
Yeah, 3-19. Yeah, so.
Yeah, so I think there's probably a lot of unknowns in the division below 2. At 1 and 2 is shored up, basically, and But, I mean, I'm not saying that I want Wednesday in this way, but who knows what's going to happen with all the COVID stuff and how everything's going to shake down.
Yeah.
I also think that, talking to, some other coaches or, some college level coaches that I know, a big focus for them is simply handling the situation in a positive light. A lot of the stuff's out of our control, and, a big piece is just going to be, are you able to show up and play through all of the distractions or the things that are different? So I think that'll add a little bit to it. I don't think that's going to really change the outcome of too many games, but it's going to be a little different playing with masks on and
empty gyms.
Nobody in the stands. And I was told that we might only have 2 refs every game, and they might do both JV and varsity. Was a possibility. Those things could impact games in some way. I hope that they don't end up impacting outcomes. But I have trouble walking up and down steps with a mask on.
I agree. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So I don't know. I can't really hear John, but does John have any insight, being connected to the referees, about how they're going to enforce the mask? I mean, is that going to be punishable by?
As far as I, at least the way it was in football, the PIAA officials will have absolutely nothing to do with enforcing anything regarding masks. That's more of a game management issue. If you're not wearing a mask or not, at least I don't think they're going to call a technical foul on you or anything like that. At least that's how it was in football. Teams were required to do certain things, and we weren't really looking to enforce those types of rules. But I don't know for sure. Again, like you kind of forget about that. The players will be wearing masks, the officials will be wearing masks. That, like you said, that just adds an element to the game that we've obviously never seen before. So who knows how that can impact the game? That's, we talk about so many unknowns coming into the season, and that's probably the biggest. Who knows how the kids are going to react?
Yeah, Coach Hoffman has a rule that his players can't wear headbands, because one time a player got his headband knocked over his eyes, and he had to call it wasted last time out.
Oh, jeez.
They're wearing masks. What happens if the mask covers up the eyes?
Mask falls off.
Dead ball, and we're going to take it out of bounds again? Probably not, but
I don't know.
It could. And what I was getting at, though, originally, was that I think that, there will be some points, not awarded literally, but some points to the teams who are able to not worry about it, just do the best that they can with what they have and just kind of play through it. I don't know. There's so many unknowns, including the middle of our division, so I'm not sure.
Yep. We'll soon start getting some answers here. Starting tomorrow. With games starting tomorrow and league play next week. So, hey, Kagan, thanks for taking the time to join us here tonight, and good luck to you and the Indians this year. And we'll look forward to watching you Saturday.
Yep. Thanks for having me, Gary.
Sure.
See you, John.
See you. Have a good night. Yeah, I tell you what, Gary, like Kagan said, there's so many unknowns, especially with a team like Waynesboro who loses their best player. But, teams kind of take the identity of their coaches. And, Tom Hoffman's been around long enough that they're going to be aggressive. They're going to play hard defensively. They're going to be in your face. They're going to work hard. They may or may not have the better talent on the floor, but they're probably not going to get outworked. So, even when Waynesboro loses, talent to graduation, which all schools do, that the kids coming up behind them are going to play hard and play tough. And, Waynesboro is always going to be, in the mix for things. So it's going to be a great season. The one thing I just remembered that, we really should have asked Kagan while we had him on the phone was he able to find a box full of Hershey Dreams?
Yes, I forgot about that. We should, Yeah.
Because, I think Mike Mondadoro's birthday is coming up, and I think he would like nothing more for his birthday than a Hershey Dreams T-shirt.
T-shirt, yeah, he would. Yeah, indeed, he would wear that with pride.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yes. That Hershey Dreams box. Maybe there's a market for those, John.
I'm sure there would be.
Yeah, we could give a few of them away here on the show.
Yeah. Instead of just getting bragging rights, they can win T-shirts.
T-shirts, right? Yeah, there you go. You don't need to worry about the bragging rights.
Exactly.
Yeah. But he's been telling us for years, a couple years now.
I know, he keeps holding out on us.
Yeah, we still haven't seen those Hershey Dreams T-shirts, unless they were all sold out.
That's possible.
Yeah. Yep.
We do it for real tomorrow. All the talk is we've been talking and talking here for 90 minutes, but we'll find out for real what happens here in less than 24 hours.
Yes, it will. And looking forward to the start of the season, as everyone is, and a big sigh of relief that they're going to get to play this year.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And like Keegan said, you just have to take it a day at a time. Things are going to change. Things aren't things are not in your control. But you just take it a day at a time and play every game like it's your last, because you never know, it could be. So, we're looking forward to it. I know the players are looking forward to it. The coaches are looking forward to it, and they throw the ball up tomorrow and off we go.
Yep, it's tomorrow's the day. It's Greencastle and Camp Hill tomorrow, and that is girls' game at home.
Boys on the road.
And boys on the road, and also Shippensburg and Northern in a big matchup to start the season. They play tomorrow night at Shippensburg.
Kind of like NASCAR, how they start off the season with the Daytona 500.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's like they play the World Series before they play the season, right?
It's kind of what it's like. I mean, they'll play again this year, and who knows? They may meet in districts or even in states. For all we know, but it should be a great one to start the season.
Oh yeah, it is, and that's such an exciting Shippensburg team too. Yeah.
Both teams are.
They both are, but they are just reeked in talent, and it is. And we'll find out there tomorrow night. Well, thanks for joining us tonight on Chalk Talk, and we will be back next Thursday night.
Sure.
At 7:30 for another edition of Chalk Talk on 93.7 FM. WRGG.
Antrim community. We are WRGG LP Greencastle.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. President Trump says he's focused on ensuring a smooth transition of power. In an online video, Trump acknowledged that a new administration will soon lead the nation. He made the remarks in an online video condemning violence at the U.S. Capitol Wednesday.
Like all Americans, I am outraged by the violence, lawlessness, and mayhem. I immediately deployed the National Guard and federal law enforcement to secure the building and expel the intruders.
A U.S. Capitol police officer is dead after yesterday's violence. Members of Congress confirmed the death. The officer was reportedly injured when protesters stormed the Capitol building and occupied it for hours. Vice President Mike Pence is not on board with removing President Trump from office under the Constitution. The New York Times reports Pence is against invoking the 25th Amendment, with Joe Biden's inauguration less than 2 weeks away. That decision is also reportedly supported by several other members of Trump's cabinet. The Trump campaign is dropping 4 election lawsuits they filed against Georgia's Secretary of State. Sarah Bartlett has that story.
Secretary Brad Raffensperger says Trump's team voluntarily dismissed their election contests to avoid submitting their evidence to court. He said the president's legal team is falsely characterizing the dismissal as an out-of-court settlement agreement. Raffensperger added that the Trump campaign wisely decided to dismiss their frivolous cases.
Dr. Anthony Fauci is using the measles as an example simple to convince Americans to get vaccinated against COVID-19. The nation's top infectious disease expert said while measles is arguably the most transmissible virus in the world, as long as more than 90% of the population is vaccinated, measles outbreaks are few and far between. Illinois is now the 5th state to pass a dark milestone of more than 1 million coronavirus cases. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio.
Aberley's Plumbing and Heating, family owned and operated at the same location since 1945. From large to small, Aberley's do it all, offering residential and commercial sales, service, and installation. Their 4 master plumbers and friendly staff do quality work at affordable prices. A supporter of community radio station WRGG, Aberley's Plumbing and Heating can be called at 717-597-7933. Remember, quality service leaves no regrets. Aberley's Plumbing and Heating, 9187 South Rabbit Road, Greencastle, Pennsylvania.
Life is always moving forward, so WellSpan Health is always a healthy step ahead. Because you deserve expert healthcare that's more innovative, safer, easier. At WellSpan Health, we stay ahead so you can virtually see your primary care doctor from anywhere and connect to online urgent care 24/7. We stay ahead so you can easily email your provider, manage appointments, and more through the My WellSpan patient portal. We stay ahead to make healthcare costs more straightforward, more transparent with our online price estimator tool. And we stay ahead so that you can always expect the highest standards of quality and safety. Because amazing healthcare is about so much more than feeling better. It's about being treated better. It's healthcare done differently. See how we can help you stay a healthy step ahead at wellspan.org. WellSpan Health, a healthy step ahead.
WRGG 93.7 is your not-for-profit community radio station. Radio personalities are volunteers. However, there are still expenses to run the radio station. When making donations, in honor of, in memory of, or congratulations gifts, please consider WRGG in your community giving. You can mail or hand deliver your donation to WRGG at 113 South Carlisle Street, Greencastle, PA. Thank you for your listenership and support.
WRGG weather.
Now the weather forecast for WRGG. For this afternoon, partly to mostly sunny skies, high in the upper 40s. North winds at 7 to 12 miles per hour. Tonight, partly to mostly cloudy, low in the mid-20s. North wind at 3 to 8 miles per hour. Friday, increasing cloudiness, high in the upper 40s. Friday night, becoming partly cloudy, low in the mid-20s. And the outlook for Saturday, mostly sunny skies, high in the lower 40s. For WRGG, I'm nowcast meteorologist Jim Vaughn.
All you need instead
waits among the shelves. But Oz never did give nothing to the Tin Man that he didn't already have. And cause never was the reason for the evening or the Tropic of Sir Galahad. So please believe in me when I say I'm spinning round, 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 round. Smoke, glass, stain, bright cup, image going down, 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 down. Soap, sud, green light bulb. Oh, I never did give nothing to the Tin Man that he didn't already have. And cause never was the reason for the evening or the Tropic of Sir Galahad. So please believe in me when I say I'm spinning round, 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 round. Smoke, glass, stain, bright cup, image going down, 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 down. So such green light up. No, I never did give nothing to the Tin Man that he didn't already have. And cause never was the reason for the evening or the Tropic of Sir Galahad. So please believe in me.
There'll be days that will excite, make you dream of me at night.